This is Mediaweek.
Hello, welcome to the program. Well, ahead we'll go under the cover with Marie Claire editor Jackie Frank. She'll be telling us about her new TV show, which launches this week. We'll get the latest ratings, plus the war of words continues between The Age and the Herald Sun in Melbourne. But first, The Australian has unveiled the long-awaited details of its online paywall. From October, a full digital subscription will allow access to the paper's entire website, iPad and Android apps, and M-Site for just under $3 a week. Now, new subscribers to the print product 6 days a week will pay just under $8, which includes the online offering. The subscription model is one the Oz calls Freemium. So some content, including breaking news and markets, will be free, while the in-depth coverage will be locked to non-subscribers. Individual editors will make the call daily, hourly even, on what content goes behind the paywall and what doesn't. And they'll be answering to new editor Clive Matheson, who joins us now in the studio, along with James Manning, the editor and publisher of Mediaweek. Gentlemen, Clive, good to have you along.
Thank you.
I guess first question, who and how will decisions be made on what goes where and what's free and what's not?
On a daily basis?
Or an hourly basis?
On an hourly basis, yeah, sure. Look, we've done a bit of work on that. We've been very fortunate that we've learned a lot from what the Wall Street Journal has done as well, which has a very similar freemium model. It'll be section by section. We'll probably start with some broad guidelines on, we know which bits of the content we think are valuable and which bits we think are commoditised, and that will be available elsewhere on the internet for free. But like any newspaper, it's pretty fluid on a daily basis. You'll have days where everything you think is extremely valuable content, and it should be for premium customers, and other days, when perhaps your news gathering isn't as good as it should be, then for one particular section you might have a little bit more that is free access. So different sections will have different guidelines, but it is ultimately at the call of the individual section editors. If there is any dispute, it just goes up the food chain until it's finally the call of the editor-in-chief. So.
Clive, does the implementation of the plan mean the reporters will be working a little differently? Like, will there be certain stories, maybe if you break something, there'll be like the free version, if you like, and then maybe the premium version if you want more detail and you can get into it? Yeah,
I think that's right. Look, we have had a sort of an evolution of our newsroom over the last few years anyway, as the internet has become more important to our business. And reporters are expected to think about the online requirements of their news gathering. So in the past it was initially just, well, gosh, is the Sydney Morning Herald going to have this tomorrow? I can hold it till then. But now you've got to wonder who's going to break it. Will it go this afternoon? Do I have to get it up online? And that is a new consideration. But for example, if there is a big breaking sort of political story, a resignation of a minister, that is a way we might do it. There might be a generic. Obviously we put the best reporters on it, and you'd want to think that our website would have the best version of that story. But yeah, there might be a free version, and then if you want to go behind and get our political editor's analysis of it, Paul Kelly's take on it, then maybe some of those things would be for premium customers.
That must be a good way for driving subscribers as well. I know the Wall Street Journal does it very well, is that you get the first few parts and you start reading the story and you get sucked into it, and then it's like, this is for subscribers only, so and you pay the money because you want to keep reading it. So I mean, that's got to be part of the strategy, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, it's window shopping basically. You can sort of come and you can, if you like what you see and you like what you get, then hopefully we can encourage readers to go a little bit deeper and decide that the content they see, sort of the premium content is worth paying for. So that is definitely part of the strategy, and it's worked for the Wall Street Journal. That they had that strategy. They've moved, so what is premium, what is free. They've done a bit of balancing over the years, but overall the model, they believe, works very well for them.
As a subscriber to The Australian, and I must have been a lapsed app subscriber, I guess, because you already had the paper and the website giving everything. Everything was free. I was a bit overwhelmed by the choice of different subscriptions, and then a footnote saying, well, the app will again be separate to what you're doing online. Well, there'll be a bit of education, I guess, for the customers.
Oh, look, no question. Particularly as we are going out, sort of first in this market. Well, that's not true, because the Financial Review, of course, has had sort of a premium strategy right from the start. We don't want it to be as complex as a mobile phone contract. We actually want to make it as simple as possible, and I think we have. There's the three broad packages are digital only, which is $2.95, and that will give you the app, the mobile site, and sort of tablets and the web, obviously. And then there's $7.95, sorry, which is 6-day subscriber, and then you get the digital as well. And then $4.50, which from a personal point of view actually sounds quite attractive, and that's digital on the go. So you get all the digital offerings, and then plus the Weekend Australian. So the one day you may actually have time to sort of sit down and really take in your newspaper, you actually get the the printed form. So I mean, they're the three broad packages that we'll be going to market with.
So just on the technical side, I suppose, one login, I assume, if you've, say, got your Australian app on your iPad at home and you want to do that, and then using that will then give you access to behind the paywall on your computer at work. Yeah, it's all quite seamless.
I'm an editorial guy, not a technical guy, so I'd probably need the head of technology probably need the head of technology to come and explain that. But look, we want to make it as simple and as seamless as possible. We want you to be able to just log into the website, and if you're a subscriber, up it pops, with the access to the premium content.
What's your best hunch that the way the audience will go? I mean, your app experience isn't yet the complete newspaper. Yeah. Do you think that will happen, or will it stay? Is there a need for that yet, do you think?
To have the complete newspaper? Yeah, look, the apps have been it's a funny model at the moment in that you have the app, which is paid, with slightly less content than the website, which is free. And if anyone who uses an iPad, the browser is not a bad experience. It's not as good as the app. So it's a bit hard to gauge, sort of initially, from that. But what we do know is, even though we have had this free option, which is the website, people have been prepared. I think Richard used those numbers between 3,000 and 20,000. So I won't, sort of narrow that down at all. But, people are prepared to pay for the usability of the app, for the convenience of it, the fact that you can use it on the go. So, look, that's pretty encouraging for us. And, look, what we want to do is give people a way to access our news any way they want. If they want it on a web, fine. If they want it on their, the phone on the train on the way home, fine. That's what we want to do. So give people those options to get our content any way they like.
As you said, you're an editorial guy. Is it harder or easier now to be a good reporter? I mean, you've obviously got a lot more access to information. It's easier, it's quicker to find things out. You've got Google. I remember the days of being a journalist when that didn't exist. But, on the other side of the coin, it must be a lot harder to break a story, to get something to yourself, because all that information is out there. Where do you sit? I mean, what are the challenges for you as an editor?
You're absolutely right. Look, a couple of things. There is a lot more information out there. It's much easier to get information. I was just coming here, and the Productivity Commission report on carbon pricing lobs into my mobile, and I can have a look at it there. Which gives some reporters, the sort of tendency to do all their work from their desk, because you can just go and download the information and do an internet search. The best journalism is still done on the ground, leaving the office, and the best journalism we've done has been people who've been prepared to go out and talk to people and work contacts and do all those traditional things. So, and that is something we try and instill in all our journalists. You look around, and aren't they so-and-so supposed to be working on their story? Why are they still at their desk? Why are they out covering it? So there is that, but you're right. When you break a story, you don't own it for long these days. And that is a consideration with every story that we break. When do we do it? How do we make sure we own it for as long as possible? How do we make sure we remind people that that was an Australian story, and there's only one place to get it, and it's on the in the newspaper or on the web. So it does change the news gathering and sort of how you present the news as well.
That was something. A bit of an awkward situation to say this, but that was something I know Brett Clegg was very fond of pushing, that on stories that were broken by Australian reporters, making sure this was a story that the Australian broke on May 16th or whatever. Is that a strategy that you guys are going to continue? You like that format?
Look, there's a limit to that. So for your informed readers who are buying your paper every day, they know. They know. Of course, they read it in the Australian. Why wouldn't read it anywhere else? But to certainly attract new readers, and in a very competitive market, there's nothing wrong with reminding people where they saw it first, particularly when others do try and claim the hard work that you've done, which happens obviously. So there's certainly a place for that.
It's obviously a lot harder in print. I mean, on TV it's pretty obvious where the stories come from, because you've got the watermark and you've got the studio behind you, but in print
that's right.
It's pretty easy to move it on.
And the current affair, get those watermarks.
As you can see with the Age
journalism.
And the Age and the Herald Sun as well, you can see disputes over crediting where the stories have come from. So it is an issue for newspapers as well.
Yeah. Maybe just quickly too, I mean, you're a relatively new editor of The Australian. You've come up largely through the business ranks. Does that signal that that's the paper has been very strong there? Will it maybe try to strengthen its focus there and perhaps take on the AFR even more so than it has?
Certainly, we see the AFR as a key competitor for us. There's no question about that. Any strong newspaper needs a strong business presence. And look, a lot of the big stories, a lot of the big political stories, come back to politics. The government's response during the global financial crisis, the carbon tax, is as much a business story. Certainly, the Australian has been very strong in business. We want to be a stronger newspaper. I think that I don't think there'll be many people who disagree that the business section in the past decade, has improved in quality and quantity. The product that's doing and has really taken the competition to the Financial Review.
Clive, thank you. We've got to get through some other news with James, but feel free to jump in if you've got anything particular to say, because we were just touching, James, on that issue of the newspaper wars in Melbourne. What's the latest?
Yeah, well, the Age, I mean, we talked a few weeks ago about the criticism of former Premier Jeff Kennett was having a go, saying the Age is pretty much irrelevant, eventually end up a one newspaper town. The Age this week accused the Herald Sun of plagiarism. They broke a story, and the Herald Sun in a later edition, I think, sort of referenced that story without sourcing it, and there was a bit of dispute over whether that was actually done or not. And then Neil Mitchell was criticising the Age last week for not leading with this story of deaths of troops in Afghanistan, and then the Age sort of hit back as saying, it was unedifying to, people don't want to hear about journalists questioning news judgment. So, yeah, just how much the general reader's interested in that stuff, I'm not sure.
We can segue from print sort of into TV and Seven West, the blended beast. Chris Wharton, a new post there?
Yeah, he's taken on a role across Seven West Media's assets in WA. He's very familiar with both of them, of course, former, which is Channel 7 Perth and the West Australian, former managing director of 7 over there for many years. It's the market leader by a long way. 2.5 years he's been CEO of West Australian newspapers, so he'll be sort of looking at, I guess, he'll answer to David Leckie in this new role, and he'll be looking at further integrating those businesses as much as he can.
A couple of stories around to do with the production houses. Firstly, Fremantle, a deal with Mark Burnett.
Yeah, they've got the rights to any formats that come out of Mark Burnett. So, of course, Mark Burnett's probably best known as the guy that behind Survivor, probably the granddaddy of reality TV shows, current and back catalogues. Back catalogue probably not that exciting because it's harder to get interest in programs that have been around for a while, but any new shows, there'll be some market excitement. He's got a show coming up this month in the US called Expedition Impossible, which they'll be looking at the ratings of that. If it does well, that Fremantle will certainly take that to market here.
Make a version here. Also, XYZ has brought Shine on to make this is an Australian version of Wife Swap.
Yep, Wife Swap Australia. It's about people's. Well, I'm sure people know the format. It's they take one wife working with another family. Yeah, so I'll try that here. Beyond Lifestyle U, I think that'll screen here. It's already in production. Screen next year.
NBC. This is a Olympics right deal. This was just done this week.
Yeah. There was 3 bidders for the US TV rights. So actually, I think it was all multi-platform. NBC, Universal, ESPN and Fox Sports. Fox Sports put in a big bid. There was a bit of talk they looked good, but NBC Universal came in, bought the rights to 4 games. So it's the next summer games, I think, in Rio in Brazil. The next winter games are in Russia, and the following 2 games that host cities haven't been revealed yet. Okay,
and just quickly, we have to turn to the radio market. We've got some more figures out for revenue for May.
Yep, about $60 million. All markets were up a little bit, except Melbourne, which was pretty flat. 18 million in Sydney, 17 million in Melbourne for the month. Perth was the biggest percentage.
Right. James Manning, thank you, and Clive Matheson again, thank you.
Pleasure.
After the break, Under the Cover, the new TV show set to go inside the high fashion world of Marie Claire magazine. Editor Jackie Frank joins us next.